Welcome to Conversate, our podcast where we engage in conversation. On this week's episode, Aaron, and Kevin have a conversation about David some more and how David helps point us towards Jesus. And in doing so, obviously, we end up talking about Christmas and share some of our favorite Christmas songs and traditions. And well, we just have a really good time in this conversation. And so we hope that you enjoy your time with us as well. And as always, take something from this conversation and apply it to your own conversations as well. We really hope you enjoy it. Hey, Kevin.
Morning, dude. Top of the morning.
You know, I thought that we've been talking about switching up locations maybe at some point for the podcast, and maybe we'll build like an official set for this podcast and get, really real and make it seem legit and official.
Yeah.
But then we talked about maybe we should just switch it up and do it outside every once in a while, and I thought about doing that today, but it's just a little bit windy. If you don't know, we're filming this on the first good snow day in the UP of 2021. So last year, your first winter up here, Kevin, we didn't get much snow like at all.
It was lowly and mild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like other Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year was light. I mean, I will say we got that one nice snow in like October. If you remember that.
No.
Mm-hmm. It was October because it was like all of us went straight to the window, in our house, and we're like, snow. It's so surprising. Molly had some friends in town who are visiting. They're just loving it because they're like, oh my gosh, can't believe it's snowing already.
Yeah.
But this year we've kind of held out for a long time.
Yeah, I think so.
I
mean, I don't know. There's been a number, like more than one, even Christmas Eve, where there's still been a little bit of grass poking out.
Really?
In the
okay.
11 years that I've been here.
I basically, just in my mind, like every time, like before moving up here, since moving up here and talking to people, I just imagine this place as like, like where the abominable snowman lives or something.
Well, you would hope so. Some years though, like I remember like when Marcus, our youth director, he and his wife came for the first year, so that was 2016, that winter. That was a record-breaking December. So just in December, I think we had almost like 180 inches or something. In December.
Gosh.
I was like,
well,
yes, this is fantastic.
I gotta say, there is something like when it's snowing out and the wind's blowing like it is today.
Yeah.
There's like a liveliness to it. It actually energizes me.
You were in the right place then, Kevin.
Like going out, moving snow, like it's fun. It's kind of invigorating.
Yeah. I'm glad. It's a good thing that you like it.
Everywhere else I've lived, like from at least the months of like January to beginning of March, it's like so boring. There's nothing going on.
I know.
It's just like gray.
Yeah.
And kind of
maybe kind of cold, and
it
rains and stuff.
Right.
Like who would? I don't know.
So we'll see how I feel, in January to mid-March here, because we're not there yet. But as for the time being, I'm enjoying it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We actually I stayed home a little bit extra this morning. We were supposed to. We had gotten our Christmas tree this weekend, and it had been in the garage. We just hadn't gotten it inside, and so I brought it inside last night. We got lights on it, but then so I stayed home this morning and decorated the tree with the kids, and so we kids had a snow day and stuff. So it was a little bit of playing outside in the snow, and then my son Max wanted to learn how to use the snow blower, so we were doing some snow blowing lessons, and then we came in and decorated the tree and put on Christmas music. It's been a fun day so far.
Nice. Yeah, we did the whole tree thing this weekend too. Actually, we're still before I left the house today, I threw a bunch of cranberries in this doesn't sound like Christmas tree. I threw a bunch of cranberries in a I get dehumidifiers and
dehydrator.
Those two things. I get them confused all the time. But yeah, cranberries in the dehydrator, because we do this like we did it last year for the first time, but dried fruit. So cranberries and oranges on the tree, like literally it's like our ornaments. Like we'll put the cranberries, we'll thread them with a string and wrap our tree with it, and then dangle orange. It just looks very alive.
Do you have any other ornaments?
We have ornaments, but we don't use them.
Oh.
Yeah. At least we didn't last year.
There may come a season when you do. So my wife and I, we had bought all these nice ornaments when we were first married, and so for our first number of years, that's what we had and stuff. But now I mean, we have 4 kids, but the 3 oldest ones they've been making ornaments now for years and stuff.
Sure.
We have a fully loaded tree, and there's like part of it, like on a design, like if you're like a designer and your tree's got to look a certain way. Like ours did not look like that at all, but man, it's really really cool to see their excitement about this about like Christmas and their anticipation and stuff. And I mean, just seeing their old ornaments and ones that they made years ago, and they're talking about it, and they remember it. But we actually have multiple manger scenes as well. I don't even know, 4 or 5. Yeah, like little kid ones and some nicer ones and stuff. But most of them are like for the kids. And so last night I got those out because we didn't have time to decorate the tree, but they had time to look at those. And so they set them all up, and then they were playing Christmas. So taking the pieces and basically enacting the Christmas story and stuff. And I'm like, this is really cool. And I mean, they're just like, Christmas is the best. Christmas is the best. And I told them, I was like, man, you guys really know the Christmas story really well. And then I patted myself on the back. I was like, I must be doing a good job, But it's cool. It's just a fun season. Obviously, having some snow helps. But
It does.
are you a Christmas music guy?
I am. Yeah.
Do you have any rules about when you can start listening to Christmas
I
music?
have no rules. I'd listen to Christmas music in July. You
You
know.
would. Man.
Yeah. Why not? But my wife has rules,
Does
so
she?
I abide by them. Yeah.
What's her rule?
Post Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew I liked Molly.
How about you?
Yeah, post Thanksgiving.
Okay,
Actually, we'll do it. I'm cool with it, like in the latter half of the day of Thanksgiving.
You know what? I actually asked for that this year,
Yeah.
and it was granted.
It was granted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll even like put on a Christmas movie like later on in the evening on Christmas.
Or on Thanksgiving.
On Thanksgiving. Yeah. We wait till Christmas to celebrate Christmas.
No,
This is Advent right now.
25th. Yeah. It's fine. That's when Marcus, recently he was talking about to the confirmation students that we're not actually in the Christmas season.
Right.
Which feels backwards to say.
I know.
But I suppose we should probably, hey, let's move into this season that we're in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some Bible stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we were already. It was Christmas.
Right. No, I mean, in your sermon this last Sunday, we were talking about David still, and we will be for another week still. But in his life, in David's life, you actually made some connections between David's life and Christmas and Jesus' life, and it's pretty fascinating when you look at that, how everything lines up. Do you want to point out some of those things that you were noticing?
Yeah. I mean, like the one that really stands out to me especially is, and so just to orient you listeners, right? We're talking about David. He's king in Israel, and he's set up in a house. I don't know. He was like a tent. It's just a house, I guess. Sounds like a nice spot, though.
Yeah.
But David's in a house. He wants to build God a house. He wants to build God a temple for God to dwell in, because God's been dwelling in the Ark of the Covenant, which is like in the tabernacle, right? Which is that moving kind of a tent dwelling place where God's presence was. And he had the people build it way back in Mount Sinai times. But that, honestly, that to me is, I never really thought about. So like we talk about the incarnation, right? Yeah. Which is typically, if you hear the word incarnation, we're talking about Jesus coming to earth, right? Because that's what incarnate means.
In flesh, yeah.
Yeah. Flesh. So God getting fleshed out, But like, I mean, the incarnation talks about the reality of Jesus becoming flesh, God becoming flesh in Jesus, coming to earth. But I think a lot of times when we talk about the incarnation, we're also often alluding to Jesus, like, his communion with us, his unity with us, his sympathizing with us, like him being with us, essentially, Emmanuel, right? God with us. And that Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle, that was kind of like the Old Testament version of the incarnation in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, God wasn't fleshed out, but he was with his people, like tangibly.
Right.
And I didn't talk about this that much in the sermon, but like, so David, like he's in a house, but he's the king of Israel. All right. So if the king is in a house, probably not everyone else's in-house is,
Right.
right at this same time. Because typically a king is going to have a higher status,
Right.
than his people. So, like, things are stabilizing. The Philistines have been fought and defeated and all this. But most of the Israelites are probably still, slumming it, not in strong structures that are like, yeah, we're here for the long haul, Like, they've been warring back and forth. A lot of the guys are probably not even in their, like, households with people because they were in the war camps,
Yeah.
And so David comes to God and is like, wants to build him a house, and God's like, no. And he says no to David, and part of it is he wants to stay with and in the place of his people, which is in this tabernacle. He's not going to put himself above his people.
Right.
The kind of guy we have is a guy who like comes and is with his people.
Right.
To me that was like a big part of this connection to really Advent and to Jesus is the Ark of the Covenant. It's almost like this shadow of what will be in Jesus, when he comes to dwell with his people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's interesting about God's presence when we talk about that, like, God reveals himself to people in tangible ways, but in ways that humans can understand and grasp. But that does not mean that God is limited by the way that he chooses to reveal himself to us. So, yes, God is present in this Ark of the Covenant with the people there. And the Ark is literally a box. But God is not a God who fits inside of a box.
Right, yeah.
God is not, he's not boxed in by time or space or life or death or
limits.
any of this stuff. But we are bound by those things. Mm-hmm. So he comes and makes himself available to us in those ways that we can understand. So he does that in the ark. He did it in the tabernacle. He did it for the Israelites in the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Most fully, though, God reveals himself to us, like you said, in the person of Jesus. I mean, what better way for us to try to understand God or for God to reveal himself to us than by becoming like us, right? There's nothing more that we really understand in this life than humanity, because that's who we are, right? And so that's how God comes to us. Yet God is also not limited by flesh. We actually see that in the life of Jesus when he demonstrates that he has power over earthly things, right? He
wind and
heals,
the waves.
Yeah, he heals the sick, and the lame, and the blind, and the deaf. He raises the dead. He calms the storms. He does all these things, demonstrating that he's not ultimately bound by time and space. He is God in the flesh. But in that, what we learn is that our God. And the scriptures speak about this lots of different ways. We were just reading this morning in our staff devotions in the book of Hebrews, but Paul talks about this like in Philippians and in Corinthians, that God comes to suffer with us. And that our God is not a God who doesn't understand suffering, but he actually does understand suffering and pain and death. And he has overcome those things so that he can comfort us during our own suffering. And that's an incredible gift that God gives to us. Honestly, I mean, in my life, I think God's presence and understanding of my human frailty is one of the it's one of the greatest gifts that I have from God, I believe. Just this presence. I am with you always to the very end of the age. I'm with you always, and he's not asking me to make myself something else to appease him. He's coming to me in my worst, and that's an incredible gift.
Yeah, and it strikes me too just how different that is. And on Sunday I talked about how different that was from like even the gods of David's time, right? These people, the Egyptians who followed, different gods like Ra. But even in our day, I think a lot of people's notions of Christianity or religion is this idea that you kind of got to clean yourself up. You got to do all these things, and then maybe you'll be worthy to enter into God's presence or something. And we just see the reverse over and over in the scriptures, where it's not, I mean, I think of like the thief on the cross with Jesus, you know? What has he done in his life to attain some sort of, a time with Jesus, you know, to even have the ability to talk to Jesus, you know? But he wasn't worthy at all to bend Jesus' ear to him. But he also knew that. He recognized that, right? But God is a God who comes down to us to meet us. And that's what, I mean, Christmas is all about, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. David is he's a interesting character. I don't want to get ahead of myself because we've got more to go with David next week, and I think that's already where my head is going because I'm preaching next week. But I love looking at like the genealogy stuff in the Bible. I used to skip over the genealogies,
the boring parts.
Yeah. And sometimes I still do because you just go through and you're like, I don't know what I'm.
I don't know any of these guys.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm reading.
Yeah.
But in Matthew's gospel, in Matthew chapter 1, when Matthew gives the genealogy of Jesus, now that is one. If you've read a good portion of the Old Testament, you can look at that one and you go, whoa, these people are in the lineage of Jesus. These people are in the lineage of Jesus. Yeah. You know. Obviously, David is mentioned, but the one that I'm already thinking about is, well, Matthew doesn't say it, but he says David's wife, or the wife of Uriah. Even I think Matthew says, does he? I think he. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, even
real quick.
mentions. Yeah, sure. I mean, as you do it, you know, just for a minute to pause and even think, because it's cool to look back and see these names, right, in this genealogy. What to me is also crazy is that at the time of all of those historic stories, right? Yeah. They were looking forward, not back, right? This was just life happening. And there's people out there, I mean, there's whole faith systems that don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. But like they still hold to all these scriptures, and it's like, how can you not? You know, like they're pointing to somebody. Yeah. They're moving to somebody, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jesus.
Yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself, but yeah, Matthew mentions the wife of Uriah, which is Bathsheba, who David has an adulterous relationship with. But we'll talk more about that next week. Likely.
But it's good to acknowledge, like, I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves, but I agree with you. David's an interesting character. One, two, he's a very worthwhile character to know. I mean, if you want to kind of know Jesus, know David,
right?
You know, because
you have to. I mean. How many times, I forget the count, I did a search on it, but that Jesus is called the Son of David in the New Testament. And I think a lot of times we just skip by that and we're like, yeah, Son of David.
Yeah, whatever.
Jesus,
Jewish thing.
The Son of David. Like, yeah, why is he called the Son of David? Well, because David's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
He's kind of the preeminent figure of Christ.
Right.
Maybe the one we would most closely associate prior to Christ coming.
Yeah. And with what the Messiah is, and maybe we should just pause there.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because we talk about Jesus being the Christ, Jesus being the Messiah, and these are. I'll just slow down real quick on terminology in case you don't know. But Messiah is from the Hebrew language that the Old Testament is written in. Christ is from the Greek language that the New Testament is written in. Messiah and Christ are the same word, and Messiah and Christ, therefore, actually, in the Hebrew, Messiah is the anointed one. And who would they anoint? They would anoint people designated for a purpose, for a godly purpose. So kings were anointed. So David was anointed. David was actually anointed multiple times. He was anointed by Samuel. He was anointed as king of Judah. Later on, he was anointed as king over all of Israel. So it's basically a special kind of ceremony where oil is poured on your head and you're given in this present. So there were basically in the Old Testament there were multiple messiahs,
anointed ones.
Anointed ones.
Yeah.
But the promise given to David in 2 Samuel 7 was the promise that through David's lineage, that there would not just be a temple built to God, but a dynasty. Did you use that word in your sermon? A dynasty or a family lineage of a kingdom that would rule and reign forever and ever and ever. Yeah. So there would be this king who would come and sit on a throne and rule forever. So that's Jesus. That is so when in the Old Testament, when they're talking about this promised Messiah, they actually know about this promise through David's line that there would be a kingdom that would last forever. So when Jesus comes and they call him a king, and when Pilate's calling him the king of the Jews and all this stuff, like, I mean, that's what they're talking about. Are you this king? Are you going to be this king, this ruler,
the promised one?
The promised one. Yeah. They don't know that means fully that he's going to like die and be the sacrifice for sins and rise from the dead. Like,
yeah, no one kind of saw that coming.
Yeah,
I mean, the people closest to him, the ones that Jesus even said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna die. Yeah. I'm gonna rise." Yeah, like still caught him off guard.
Right.
Yeah, but all the clues were there, really, in the scriptures. And Isaiah, I think, I mean, I'm sure there's tons more we could look at, but Isaiah seems to be like, at least in my mind, you know, one of those like very clearly talking about this one who's going to suffer. Yeah, but even in the prophecy there to David and the promise from God, even there he says, "I'm going to discipline him with the rod of men." You know? Yeah. And I think some interpreters just say, well, he's talking about Solomon at that point, you know, David's actual son and the next king who will be a Messiah. He will be an anointed one, right? And Solomon's going to, you know, like endure punishment for his decisions or whatever. But clearly, Jesus gets disciplined as well, not of his own iniquity, but for ours. Yeah. Dude, the other thing I was just thinking of too is, like, you get all these promises here with David about this kingliness to come, but you also get that all the way back in Genesis too, when Joseph's one of the sons. He's one of the 12 sons. Who's their father? Jacob. Jacob, when he blesses his sons, right? So his sons are the 12 tribes of Israel, or become the 12 tribes of Israel. But when he blesses his son Judah, he says the scepter will not depart from Judah, right? Yeah. So like there's already this like hint, like kings are coming from your lineage. Yeah. And just here's, if you didn't know, David is of the lineage of Judah.
Right.
That's his ancestor.
Right. So and which city is in the region of Judah? Bethlehem. Who's born in Bethlehem? Well, Jesus, but not just Jesus. Also, David.
Yes.
He's from
City of David.
So,
yeah. It's just crazy. All these connections. It's wild. And this still gets me. I think I've said it on this podcast before, but I'll say it again. I don't know. I don't always walk around every day believing I live in like a Lord of the Rings type universe, you know? Yeah. But we do. Huh. Prophecy exists. You know, this stuff's like reality. This is crazy. Yeah. That there's all these voices speaking about this person who's going to come and change history forever, you know, and then he does. And it's wild to me that especially the people who were steeped in this, so like the Jewish, you know, Jews in Judaism, that I don't know how you can't see Jesus as the fulfillment of it. But
and that is so true. But I think even when you say it like that, like I don't walk around thinking that I live in a Lord of the Rings deal. Yeah. I think a lot of people look at the Bible like they look at a Lord of the Rings movie where they go, wow, that's a really cool story that this prophecy exists, but still don't realize that it's still going on even right now. Like we are living in it even now. Christ has said, I'm coming again. Like I'm going to raise the dead. I'm going to make everything new and right. Like this is our reality. Yeah. This is not just a nice story that happened in the past. Like Christmas is not just something that we're like, oh yeah, it's fun, you know, neat, you know, we're going to remember how Jesus was born. No, like that's like the down payment on the, I don't know, the final lottery winning. I don't know what the best.
The first fruit.
Yeah.
The harvest.
The inheritance of heaven. Like, like it's all coming. You know, when Christ comes back. Christmas is sort of like the stamp. Like, yeah, I make a promise. I follow through. I told you I'm coming back. I'm going to. Yeah. You know, I think that's what the season of Advent's all about, right? This time of preparation. So.
Yeah.
we started talking about Christmas. We should before or as we wrap up, Kevin. Most favorite. What's your most favorite Christmas song and your least favorite Christmas song?
All right, most famous Christmas
Not
song.
famous,
Not
most
famous.
favorite.
Most favorite Christmas song. I got a lot, and there's some that I want to say, but I'm not gonna. Well, okay, I'll say it.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
No, that's my least favorite. That's my least favorite, Aaron. Not a big fan of that one. Sorry if you like it. I like one called "Christmas in Hollis." Have you ever heard that one?
No.
That's kind of a rap song by Run DMC.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy.
Okay.
So I like some very obscure Christmas songs, but I also love "God Rest You Merry Gentlemen."
Yeah.
Like just when it comes to kind of classic Christmas songs, I just love the tune of that one.
All right. I'm actually one of my favorite tunes that's been done lots and lots and lots and lots is "Oh Holy Night." I actually really like "Oh Holy Night." There's some really cool versions of it. It's just a peaceful one.
And I think it's a challenging one too, right? Like it's got a range, and when you hear someone there was a girl in my church growing up, incredible voice, and she was like 12 years old, and she sang that song, and it's just like you get chills when you hear that song.
I must be in the Home Alone spirit because they sing "Oh Holy Night" in Home Alone.
Oh yeah.
But then there's this isn't a favorite song, but we've been listening to Michael W. Smith music, and he does a cover of. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like the theme song on Home Alone. Oh no, that's not the right song. I'll have to find it and report back to you. I can't sing it right now, but it's the one that's always playing as he's running around and like fleeing from the church and going to get his house set up and stuff. So
man, I should know that. I love Home Alone music. John Williams, right?
I don't know.
I think he's the composer.
Well,
Jurassic Park too.
We'll report back to you. So.
But hey, if you want to sing some Advent-y songs, come hang out with us tonight. Saints Peter and Paul.
There you go.
6 o'clock. We got Advent services. We're looking for Jesus coming because he said he's going to do it. And hey, he might come back tonight.
That's what better place to be than
in his house. Yeah, jam in the house. That'd be great.
Let's do it. All right. Have a blessed rest of your day, Kevin, and you, friends, as well.